Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Gregg Clunis. If you're new here, be sure to click the scrabbity button, whatever the heck that's called. And in today's video, I'm going to get a little bit of life advice from the homie, Mr. Joe Rogan himself. Now, you know Joe. You know Joe Rogan, king of podcasting, UFC person, commentator. Announcer? I don't know. He does some stuff with the UFC. He's done a bunch of other stuff. He used to host. This is true. This is a fun fact. He used to host a show where people just did gross things. That guy who is now filthy rich. Like I had to say it that many times just to make sure I captured all the zeros next to his net worth. He is apparently also a he gives life advice. Like he helps people. And I thought, you know what? I want to be filthy rich. Like, let's hear what Rogan has to say on this subject. What could go wrong? So let's do it. All right. So the video that we're going to be reacting to today, Joe Rogan's life advice will change your life. Let me get rid of this. Okay. Joe Rogan's life advice will change your life. Must watch. This is a must watch. And before we jump in, I want to just go through the comments here. We've got the Success channel. They know a thing or two about success, right? You can't go back and change the beginning. This is a quote it looks like. Don't pray for easy. Pray for the strength. We've got some people here, man. Some people in the comments. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready. All right, let's jump into Joe Rogan's life advice that will change my life. Parenthesis, must watch. Here we go. Let's do this, Joe.
Well, I think the one thing that discipline definitely does help you with is it helps you get things done. And when you get things
hold up.
done, when you actually do things, you have more success.
Oh my God. Okay, so right out the gate, this guy comes in hitting hard, swinging heavy. He comes in with quite possibly the best advice I've ever heard. The one good thing about self-discipline is it helps you get things done. And when you get things done, you have more success. That is so wise, so... I'm just stunned.
You have more success. And sometimes a big part of success is just not being fucking lazy and just doing it. Yeah. That's like 90% of it is just showing up. Get there and start working.
This is interesting because, like, in Joe Rogan's case, that actually is exactly what happened, right? Like, he is the biggest podcaster in the world because he started a podcast so early in podcasting that just showing up and having the connections that he had to sort of bring on these bigger name comedians and those sorts of things, like just showing up was all it took. Like that was all that was necessary. So I can't even knock him. He's literally giving the advice that he followed. The problem, of course, is that that's not that applicable. Right? Just showing up matters. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, like showing up isn't important. Of course it is. But that's not 90% of what's required for success. It's also so much luck, so much timing, so much hard work, so much of all the things that we just don't control. And like to say that that's 10%, I don't know.
Like, you're not going to feel perfect every day. If I only worked out when I felt good, I'd be a fat fuck. Because there's a lot of days I don't want to do it. It's pretty much the same with everybody that actually gets good at something.
Yeah, that's pretty generic advice. Like, oh, you've got to show up when you don't want to do it as well. Okay. So, all right, I want to go back to the beginning here. So we're at 43 seconds. I want to go back to the beginning here. Just really quickly, I want to hear that gold that he dropped in the beginning again.
Well, I think the one thing that discipline definitely does help you with is it helps you get things done. And when you get things done, when you actually do things, you have more success.
So, okay. just want to say something on this, right? So the one thing that discipline definitely does is it helps you get things done. And when you do things, you have more success. Like that being advice, or really, and I don't even want to say it's advice because obviously this clip is taken out of context. Like he was having a larger conversation with someone on his show. So it's not like he's sitting here trying to give advice, but that as a statement is so empty. Like it's one of those things where you say a lot of words but never actually communicate anything. Like there's no meaning behind it. That's the equivalent of me saying, I think one good thing about being a millionaire is it helps you buy things. And when you buy things, you have things. Like that's the equivalent. So like if I said that sentence to you, you would think I'm insane. Like what is that? I've communicated nothing to you. It's the same thing. It just sounds cuter. It sounds better. It sounds like, oh yeah, that's real. That's true. So I don't know. There's just not much substance there. And maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit. Let's go back to where we were, 43 seconds.
It's pretty much the same with everybody that actually gets good at something. You get, there's got to be those days you push through, and they're probably going to be more numerous than the days you don't. And so the benefit of discipline in my eyes has always been that through discipline I get things done. Yeah. I always say that I'm like,
there's that dang just empty statement again. Like in my eyes, discipline's always been that I get things done. I mean, that's great, Joe Rogan. I think we already knew that. I think the question is, it's not, should I be disciplined? No one's sitting here asking, should I be disciplined? I'm really on the fence about this discipline thing. Like, no one's thinking that. I think the question is how? How do we get there? How do people who are struggling with discipline get to a point where they are more disciplined? In the same way that nobody's saying, should I make $1 million? I'm really on the fence about it. Like, I don't know if I really want that lifestyle. Nobody in the world is saying that. The question is how? How do I get there? Like, it's just so, I use this term a lot, but it's just so lazy, man. Like, it's saying something that sounds really nice, sounds great. Be disciplined. It sounds great. It's so easy to say, but it means nothing and it adds nothing to the conversation.
The most lazy, disciplined person I know, because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I always do.
I'll also add, so he just said, I'm the most lazy, disciplined person I know because I don't want to do it, but I always do. Like, we also have to recognize, right? Because this isn't something to aspire to. We can't look at Rogan and say, yeah, I just got to be like that. Because it is significantly easier to be disciplined when you're worth over $100 million. Like, I'm just saying, like, when you can afford all of your needs, plus so much more than you'll ever possibly use in your entire lifetime, it's way easier to be disciplined about getting to the gym, especially when you own the gym. Like, okay.
Big problems is sitting down and doing the work. Mm-hmm. And you got to, and Pressfield talks about that.
So he's talking about Stephen Pressfield here. I don't remember what book. Let me pull up. Stephen Pressfield wrote The War of Art. Wait, no. Is it? Did he write The War of Art? Yeah, The War of Art. Okay.
In the most concise and beautiful way. And he labels it like an enemy. He calls it resistance. Mm-hmm. You know, and that you have to sit down, you have to overcome resistance, and that the pro goes to work. And it doesn't matter if you're sick, doesn't matter if you have kids, it doesn't matter what.
All right, so the beginning of this I really like, right? The idea of resistance. That's something we all face. We're all struggling with. We want to do something. We want to do more. But there's something mentally holding us back, that sort of like inner enemy. And labeling it resistance, there's value in that. And being able to label it, look at it, point at it, and say, no, that's what this is. I can fight back against that. I like that. And granted, that's Stephen Pressfield, not Rogan, to be clear. But I don't like the second part, right? This whole thing And I've heard this idea before, this whole thing of like, if you're a pro, you just show up. You know, you do it regardless of if you want to, because that's what a pro does. And I just don't think that there's any truth in that. Like, I really just truly don't. I don't think being a pro means that you show up regardless. Being a pro means that you know a lot, you've experienced a lot. You're able to sort of like think through a situation more deeply than an amateur could, because you're really experienced with that thing. It actually has nothing to do with your degree of showing up or doing something. And also, how can you be a pro at working out? How can you be a pro at saving money? How can you be a pro at anything that we might want to do in our personal lives? So again, it's just another thing that sounds really nice to say. It's cute, it's Instagrammable. People can hear it and think yes, but it means nothing really. All right, let's get back into this. We've only made it through a minute and a half. Yikes.
And that you have to sit down, you have to overcome resistance, and that the pro goes to work. And it doesn't matter if you're sick, that this is what I do. This is what, and you have pride in that. And then when you are in front of that keyboard and you look down, where you just write nothing but dog shit.
Okay, so he's really not saying anything that interesting here, right? Like, and I don't even feel bad cutting him off. There's something that's like dawning on me as I'm watching this, something that I think we need to address more of, right? Like the Joe Rogans of the world, and this isn't even specifically him, like this type of person, people of his ilk, right? The Joe Rogans, the Tim Ferrisses, the Stephen Pressfields, the whomever, right? Who is this advice actually for? Because here he's sort of framing this argument that, like, you know, if you want to do something, you show up, you be disciplined, you show up every day and you put in the work and you make it happen, right? And that's really easy to say. And that's really easy to latch onto and receive. And we can hear that and think, yes, that is exactly what I need to do. And it's like, yeah, no shit. Like, we do need to just show up. We do need to do the thing. Like, nobody's arguing against that. But what I'll notice is severely lacking in any of this argument. Like, they're just framing it as, oh, well, the alternative to showing up is you're just lazy on the couch. You know, like you're just hanging out. You're just wasting time. When in actuality, like when you look across, and I can only speak to the US, when you look across like real America, like that's not most people's experience. Like the people that are struggling, they don't have the luxury of being lazy. Like they don't have the time to be lazy. Just to get a meal on the table, they've got 3 jobs they're working. Like it's not a question of, well, you're lazy and you just need to fix that and work harder and be disciplined. Like there's a significant problem there that needs to be solved, both structural and individual. But they never address that. And I'm sitting here wondering, like, why? Why is it that not once in this entire monologue thing that he's doing, not one time, did he even, like, as a side note, say that, hey, you know, that's not always easy for everybody, or even mention that someone might have 2 jobs. Like, why is it like there's only 2 options? Either you're lazy or you're disciplined. There's nothing in between. It's very strange. It's kind of like they're only speaking to this like theoretical like teenager who's like still at home living with their parents and like doesn't really have any responsibilities, and so is like their choices are like they're just spending time on the couch watching TV or on their phone or whatever it is, right? They're just wasting time and they could be doing something more productive. Like that's kind of the only person that this actually serves. Like who is actually out there working, living a life, paying their bills, paying off debt, raising kids, whatever? What real adult person is out there and has the time or the luxury to be lazy? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. All right, let's watch a little bit more. Because I feel like I'm being let down a little bit. You know, I feel like my life hasn't quite changed yet, and this video really promised me it was a must watch. So let's see what happens. Maybe something cool happens right now.
So what? Show up again tomorrow, and tomorrow out of that dog shit, a flower will emerge. You never know, and that's the only way to develop real, like to really develop your potential 100% in anything, whether it's as an author or even as a martial artist. There's a lot of creativity in martial arts. To be a great striker, And, you know, I've had this conversation with my friends because everybody that I know that's interesting had a fucked up life. But now we have kids, and the last thing we want is our kids to have a fucked up life. So we put our kids in these good schools, we live in these nice neighborhoods, everybody eats healthy, and there's no fucking domestic violence, and everybody seems, it's so different than all of our lives. And we were talking about it, me and Brian Callen were actually talking about it, like, look, we all had fucked up childhoods, and everybody we know had fucked up childhoods. And they're all interesting, but I don't want my kids to be boring, but I also want them to be safe. So it's like, how do you approach that? I mean, I think
that sounds problematic. I don't fully have my thoughts developed on that, but I don't know. That feels very problematic to me.
Get involved. This is what I've chosen to do, is get my kids involved in martial arts and give them the.
I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Actually, I'd love to open this up to the comments. What are your thoughts on what he just said? Like, do you feel like that's problematic? Am I just sort of overreacting here? Like, what the idea that to be interesting, you need to sort of have a fucked up life, or really what he's truly saying is that to be interesting, to have something about you, you've got to sort of go through struggle. And I think my hesitation with that why I feel like it's problematic is it kind of glorifies like whatever's going on in your life, like the shit that you shouldn't have to deal with. Like it kind of like puts a nice little bow on that and allows you to point back and say like, you know what, like I am who I am because I had to struggle through this or whatever. And that just feels very like, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. Maybe we should allow ourselves to imagine a world where those struggles don't really exist and fewer people are going through fucked up lives in Joe Rogan's terminology. I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts. Drop it in the comments down below. I'm going to end it here. I feel like, you know, maybe Joe isn't quite the life coach that I need. Maybe next time I'll find the right person. Thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, if you haven't already, click subscribe on this channel. I'm doing reaction videos to personal development content, trying to share my experience, trying to sort of like tear down the stuff that is just straight bullshit and highlight the stuff that's awesome that you really should be paying attention to. So if that's interesting, click subscribe, click the bell, and leave a comment / a like on this video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.